Hi guys, there are times when it's necessary to be angry and aggressive. There are other times when speaking calmly and not losing your head is much more impactful. So Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley asked two members of Donald Trump's administration if the president is a Russian asset. A question some politicians on this side of the pond are frankly too terrified to ask. Jeff here was as cool as a cucumber and stuck to the point, and the two Trumpists fell apart. Enjoy this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to ask you, Mr. Landau, is President Trump a Russian asset?
Absolutely not, Senator. He's the President of the United States, duly elected by the American people.
Well, the reason I ask is many people back home have been asking me this question. And they say, if he was an asset, we would see exactly what he's doing now. For example, he proceeded to forward or express from the Oval Office propaganda that has been Russian propaganda, that Ukraine started the war, that Zelensky is a dictator. Second of all, he gave away key things on the negotiating table before the negotiations even started, ensuring the U.S. would absolutely oppose any possibility of NATO membership for Ukraine. Third, he's cut off the arms shipments to Ukraine, completely undermining their ability against a massive neighbor next door with short supply lines and huge resources. Fourth, he's undermined the partnership with Europe, which has been essential to security over the last 80 years, a major goal of Putin's. And then he's done everything to discredit and dismean Zelensky on the international stage with the just shameful press conference in which he teamed up with the vice president to attack Zelensky. I can't imagine that if he was a Russian asset, he could do anything more favorable than these 5 points. What else could a Russian asset actually possibly do that Trump hasn't yet done?
Senator, the President has made it absolutely clear that his top priority is to try to bring peace and end an absolutely savage war. I know you're familiar with the savagery. This is turning into World War I style trench warfare now in eastern Ukraine. The President is an exceptionally gifted deal maker. He is probably the only individual in the entire universe that could actually stop this. The President understands, as part of his deal
well,
making,
let's turn to another of the folks here.
Carrots and
Thank you very much, since you're now off the topic I was raising. Mr. Whitaker, these 5 things that the President has done that are so favorable to Putin and so damaging to Ukraine and to our partnership with Europe, do you approve of them?
Well, Senator, thanks for that question. I'm just going to have to politely disagree with you on those 5 things and the way you've framed them. You know, the war in Ukraine would have never happened if President Trump was president in 2022. The war in Ukraine happened because of Joe Biden's weakness after his
I don't think that was
from
the question I asked, but maybe you could some other time go on television and express those points of view. But do you mind just answering the question I asked? Do you agree with the 5 things that President Trump has done, starting with him expressing Russian propaganda from the Oval Office?
Well, you know, again, as I mentioned to your colleague, I'm not here to assign labels. We're in the middle of a very important peace negotiation.
Okay, thank you. I do hope that we have an administration that works to get the very best deal for Ukraine, but what a Russian asset would do would be to work to get the very best deal for Russia, and that appears to be exactly what Donald Trump is trying to accomplish.
Well said, Jeff. I love this guy. Okay, and he's completely correct. Donald Trump is a Russian asset. You know, he's doing everything in favor of Putin. He's doing everything to help Russia. He's recently cut off support for Ukraine, and he's decided he's not going to share information. Share information with European allies when it comes to Ukraine. So who's going to benefit from that? Russia is going to benefit. Putin is going to benefit. I like how the Trumpists said, well, you know, if Donald Trump had been in charge in 2022, there wouldn't have been a war. But where was Donald Trump when Putin was already in Ukraine? The war didn't start in 2022. The war started in 2014. So Donald Trump was elected in 2016. He took over in 2017. And in 2017 until 2020, Putin's forces were in Ukraine. They had annexed Crimea. So what these Trumpists and Donald Trump himself say when they say that, well, if Donald Trump had been in charge, if he had won the election in 2020 and he had been in charge in 2022, there wouldn't have been a war. Yes, there would have been. Because Trump didn't stand up to Putin when he was in power. He wouldn't have stood up to Putin if he had won the election in 2020. So we don't have a time machine to go back and test that theory, but look at what happened when he was in charge. Did he stand up to Putin when he was in charge? No, he didn't. I'd go a step further and say that he's not just a Putin asset, but he wants to bring Russia in from the cold. He wants to have better relations with Russia, and he's doing so in order to benefit Donald Trump, not the United States, not the American people, but Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump, I presume, has property in Russia, has debts in Russia that he wants to deal with, and he needs to have Ukraine off the table. He doesn't care about the Ukrainian people. He doesn't care about peace. He doesn't care about people dying. He wants to have a good relationship with Putin because it would benefit Donald Trump. I'm not fully on board with the idea that he's a Russian asset, but I think he's pandering to Trump or pandering to Putin in order to gain something for himself. And he sees Ukraine as a problem, as a distraction. He wants it off the table, and to hell with the consequences. Europe is a problem. He wants that off the table. If it benefits Putin, then it benefits Trump. I think it's as simple as that. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.